It doesn't get easier, you just get better. And that's the beauty behind it.
None of the people who had it handed to them had the success because when times did get hard, they didn't have the skill set to get through it.
And that's what I love, dude, about entrepreneurship is it is so hard. So hard. That's not to discourage people. It's actually to encourage people because that's the feather in the cap. That's the scars you can talk about, the war. But if I want to be a great business owner, a great entrepreneur, I have to learn to be the man that can carry that much weight. And so even when there is such chaos, when you actually go through it, you don't feel the same stress ever again. The first thing that you should actually do when you're going through a very stressful time is all right, well, this episode, I've been requested this topic about how do you as an entrepreneur or somebody that is just striving for a big goal deal with the highs and the lows of building a business or going after your goal. And usually this is the most frustrating in the beginning because you just don't really know the process. Every low feels really heavy, and every high feels really heavy as well, right? So it's a very emotional up and down. And so I'm excited to talk about this topic because there's a lot more deeper things that people don't understand. If you ever look at somebody who's very successful and you look at them when things are going wrong, you can tell their experience with how they handle the wrongs, right? They're usually pretty calm, right? All my mentors and people that I've been around that have been in business for a long time, when problems come up, they actually like kind of laugh a little bit and chuckle. And they're like, okay, well, here we go. Let's just deal with this, right? I can tell an amateur entrepreneur because when problems come up, it's freaking out. And,
frantic and it's crazy and it's
chaos, right? And it comes back to the brain, which is really interesting. So the brain, we had to make sure we understand the brain and what's actually happening before we understand this topic. The brain is here not to make you grow. It's here to protect you and just make sure that you're comfortable, right? And so what happens is it's like if you've ever jumped off a really high rock into the water, right? The first one, you're just like, you see the people doing the thing where they're about to go and they don't. Oh, wait, I'm about to go and they wait, right? And then they jump off and then they're like, I want to do it again. They get back up and now it doesn't take them as long anymore, right? And so what's happening is because your brain is like, don't. This could kill us. This is scary. Don't. And it's alerts, right? And then all of a sudden the brain realizes, wait, it wasn't what we thought it was. Okay, now you can say, override the brain. No, this is fun. This is no longer scary. This is fun, right?
And that probably resets when you go up one more notch. Oh, I'm used to this, but I haven't done this before.
Yeah, we did 20
now
feet,
I'm scared.
but now we're at 30 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, we did 30 feet, but now we're at 40 feet, right? And you all these tricks play on your mind, right? And so I always tell people that you can't get over it. You have to go through it. And you have to really feel it, right? If you look at any of the top entrepreneurs and you read any of their books, their biographies, you listen to their story, they've gone through such hard times in business that are unfathomable. This is the interesting thing, though, is it's kind of like the feather in your cap with a lot of people where they'll talk about like, the bad old days and what took them to get there, right? And it's actually a feather in the cap. It makes them very proud. Why? Because it was so difficult. But the people listening to the story or reading the books really don't understand how difficult it actually was, right? You look at Elon Musk, for example, had to borrow money for rent after he sold PayPal for hundreds of millions of dollars, by the way. He could have been good the rest of his life, right? But he started SpaceX. He started, I think, a Solar City and also Tesla. Now, SpaceX and Solar City and SpaceX or Tesla was going to go under, right? And so he had to borrow the actual rent to go there, right? And you hear that story and you're kind of just like, yeah, okay, right? Okay. No, if you put yourself in a financial position where it's like, he's not too sure if this would work. He's not sure, right? And the stress of it. And all of a sudden his brain is thinking, we had all this money. Why don't we just, do this the easy way, right? The comfortable way. And so I think about all the stories that people listen to. And if you research people, you understand it. Everybody's gone through a hard time. It was funny. I went to ChatGPT and I said, was there any entrepreneur that we know that has not gone through a hard time? And I said, this is impossible.
Right.
Because it's just, that's business. You can't predict the markets. You can't predict, like, ups and downs happen all the time. And this is the beauty about entrepreneurship. And I want people to understand this is it doesn't get easier. You just get better. And that's the beauty behind it. Some people might think like, well, I don't want hard. Like, I don't want to do, like, I want
Right.
easy life, right?
Well, it's probably why none of the people who had it handed to them made it none of the people who had it handed to them had the success, because when times did get hard, they didn't have the skill set to get through it, which is why they weren't successful.
And I think about like how hard it actually is to go through it. But you know what's the good news is when you actually go through it, you don't feel the same stress ever again. And so even when there is such chaos, I mean, we think about it. I think the people that ask me these questions are running very small businesses, and that's usually where it's the most meaningful and it's the most impact, right? I had one of my mentors. I called him the first time that we had a client not going to pay us, and there was like some legal things that came up, and bro, I was stressing. I'm just like, I was so terrified to ever get sued and all these different things. And I was just terrified. So I called him and I was like, I'm afraid I'm going to get sued. I'm afraid of all these different things. And I'm afraid. And he laughs at me and goes, Jared, you know, you're not a big enough business until you get sued every single day of the week. And it's got me to realize, I'm like, oh, he's probably just laughing at my problems because, and then it got me to realize, let's not think about myself. What is he going through right now?
Right.
And I realized, I was like, wow, I'm not the man to carry the amount of weight that he's carrying right now. But if I want to be a great business owner, a great entrepreneur, I have to learn to be the man that can carry that much weight. So how do you do that? Well, let's at least just start modeling it first, right? Let's understand that you're not this unique person that's going through hard times. Like everybody who's built a business has gone through hard times, right? It's funny. It's like when I was younger, I used to go to people and complain about my problems and everything. And the people that have gone through it, they kind of just look at me and be like, okay, just keep swimming. I'll give you like one little quote. Just keep going. Just keep going, right?
Like, what?
Yeah, I'm just like, can you just listen to me and be like, oh, poor me? Like, oh, Jared, like, I'm so sorry you're going through that. They didn't even say sorry. They're just like, in their heads, are probably like, good, right? Like, you have to go through this. And so I think the main thing I think a lot of people need to recognize is, I gave this analogy. The first time you do anything, so I give this analogy like snowboarding, right? Or skiing. It's funny because the first time that I'll take somebody snowboarding, if they haven't done it, what are they doing? They're freaking out. They're questioning, like, I don't want to fall, right? And their hands are up and they're very tense. And you hear like noises you never heard before, like, oh, right? Like they don't know what they're doing, right? And then by the end of the whole entire day, you're like, hey, were you sore? And they're like, yeah, but my shoulders are sore. And you're like, you know why? You're like, no. And you show them a video, and the whole time their arms are up. But they're not focused on here. They're focused on falling down here.
Right.
And then they're like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Like, because I was so freaking out. Versus a person like me who knows how to snowboard, I'm able to be loose.
Relax.
I'm able to fully relax, where I'm not even sore after. I'm able to lean into turns and know how to work my edges, how far I can be on my edge. I know that the snow in front of me and what's icy and what's powdery for me to do a certain turn, right? How do you learn that?
You got to go through it.
Experience.
Yeah. It reminds me of one of the best things that I was ever taught when I was learning how to drive. One of my older sisters let me drive her car in the back of the parking lot. This was before I had a permit, but it was like 10 o'clock at night. No one's in the parking lot. She's like, okay, like, you're learning how to drive soon. Like, I want you to know what it feels like to slam on your brakes, because the first time that you're going to have to do it, like, you're going to want that experience. So she's like, okay, get up to, 15 miles an hour and then slam on the brakes. And I kind of did. She's like, no, slam on the brakes. I tried it again. Not quite. She's like, I want you to stomp on that as hard as you can. The car will be fine. We're only going 15. Stomp on the brakes. And I went on the next one, and it was like, fully neck caught on the seatbelt. And she's like, all right, you feel that? You get a little rush of adrenaline. She's like, one day you're going to have to do that. And now you know what it feels like. So you're not afraid to stomp on that brake. And man, like, every single time I have to, in the years of driving, like, ready for it, because you had to go through that experience. You can read as much as you want, like, slam on your brakes, but you'll never know what it feels like until you do it.
And so many people want to avoid slamming on the brakes, right? Like, they don't want to go through that stuff because they're like, okay, again, your brain is just like, how can you prevent you from ever doing it?
Right.
And again, like, It doesn't mean you go self-sabotage or you cause these issues just because you're like, okay, Jared's saying just, the more issues. So, let me just burn all my cash. It's like you're gonna, the business and your stupidity in the beginning is going to burn your cash yourself. It's going to happen,
It's gonna
right?
do it on its own.
But when you're in it, it's important to know that this is a part of the actual process. And that should give you some comfort. And there's not much because it's still hard, right? And like someone's listening to this that's going through it right now. It's just like, well, that all sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's part of the process, but this process sucks.
Right.
Exactly. Right. And I think a lot of people want to look at this and what can I do? Right? What can I do with this stress though? Like, what are again, do you see how that mindset is easy way out? What's the fix? Right? What's all this? The fix is actually to learn that it's going to be okay. So then you can become the person that handles the stress in a certain way to be able to raise your IQ. Because once again, high stress situations downgrades your IQ, right? There's been a bunch of tests on that. Some people are stressed out when they're angry, when they're deprived. The whole body goes, right? That's why you see like burnout, for example. It caused them to lose their appetite. It caused them not to sleep. It caused them to just go in this cycle of just like chaos, right? And what does that do? It makes you make bad decisions. Bad decisions surface as anger. It surfaces as frustration. It surfaces as making bad situations worse, right? And so I always say that the first thing that you should actually do when you're going through a very stressful time is regulate your nervous system physically. Physically regulate your nervous system. And some people are like, okay, well, what does that mean, right? Well, you can't handle the situation right now. So why don't you take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to then start breathing technique. Do the Wim Hof breathing technique, which I think is phenomenal, right? Now, here's the interesting about that. When you start to do that, what do you think your brain's going to start doing?
My head says it's gonna start relaxing.
I don't know in the beginning. I think I'll scream more in the beginning. You're in the highest level of stress.
Oh, and then I
right?
start going.
So somebody's watching this video right now, right? And they are just pupils are dilated. They are just freaking out.
Right.
They're trying to get answers. And then, we're telling them, regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
Right? And then they start doing a breathing technique.
Yeah. It's not a good feeling at first.
Chaos in your head of just like, why am I doing this? Questioning, like, I should be working. I should be doing this, right? It was like the important thing for me to learn as a young entrepreneur is when I was starting the business, I had so many issues that I would wake up and get straight to work, right? I didn't want to think of anything else. And one of my mentors, he'll be on the podcast, Rick Gutman, said, when you stand up, God will sit down. And when you sit down, God will stand up. And that sounded great. I'm like, wow, powerful, Rick. Like, you know what? You're right. I'm really bad at sitting down. I always want to stand up. I always want to do, right? I always want to just fix the issues in front of me, right? And it started to actually take a life of its own because at first I was like, I understand I'm bad at sitting down. I'm bad at relaxing. I'm bad at taking care of myself, right? I'm a workhorse. So all I want to do is go, go, go. Well, what I recognized was if I would have just spent 10 minutes in the morning regulating my nervous system, I would have made better decisions in the day that would have been more productive. And it seems counterintuitive, right? Where it's like, I don't know if me not working on something is worse than me just thinking about something, right? But the thought of the calculation, it's getting to point A to point B in a more efficient way. And when you don't have a point A to point B, you sometimes don't even know where B is. And so you get to B, but it's all over the board. You get to C, D, F, and then you get to B finally, right? And so if you can sit there and regulate your nervous system and say, what can I control right now? Right? That's why I love lamp to your feet, right? It's not a flashlight. God doesn't say it's a flashlight, which means it's in front of you or behind you or to your side. It's a lamp. It's only lit beyond your feet. So if you get behind the lamp or in front of the lamp, you're in darkness. And so what can you do right now? How can you be as present as possible in the moment and take care of what the most important thing is? Okay, Jake, what's the most important thing if you're going through a hard time? Well, usually what people think the most important thing is the thing that torments them the most.
Okay.
Right? And a lot of times that's not. So for example, let's say you're running a business. Let's say you're a smaller business. Like you have 3 employees, let's say, right? And you got 5 clients. Okay. So not many clients, not many employees. And so you're at a point where the 5 clients, you got one client that calls you and says, hey, I'm going to cancel contract. You have one employee that's also saying like, hey, you know what, I keep dropping the ball on things and you're not very happy with them. What do you think the most important thing to fix right off the bat? Give me an answer now. Go. Come on. Give me an answer. Give me an answer. Give me an answer. Give me an answer.
It's my people.
Go. That's what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah.
We don't even know if that's the right answer.
Yeah.
So what do you need? And this goes back to our episode about the doctor, right? What do you need to do in that to figure out the best thing to do?
I need to pause and just get an understanding of the situation. Like take a step back. I need to take a step back from this. Because if I'm just like, you know, you're coming at me, I need to fix the problem. Okay, well, it's not them, it's not me, so it must be you. And I just, you know, immediately have to point the finger at someone like, wait, let's take a step back and get a broader view.
And that's what the brain does.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people will go to the most emotional thing.
Right.
So it's funny. It was like, dude, we had, the beginning of MMG, we had a lot of different clients paying us different levels, right? Some are paying us, you know, 2,000, some are paying us 500, some are paying us 1,000, some are paying us 3,000, right? Different levels, right? If I had a client that would call me and complain, I never looked at how much they were paying me. I just fixed the complaining. And what happened is I put all my focus on the complainer and I forgot about the people over here. And a lot of times the complainers were the ones that actually paid me the least amount, right? And so I also started looking at it. I was like, wait a minute, I'm giving all my attention to this person who's paying us nothing, right? You'll know this, but there was an orthodontics company we used to work for, right? And they were on our lowest package. Problems after problems after problems, right? And what did our company tend to do is focus on them. The conversations around them, it was just polluting everything. And then we got to a point where I knew from the very beginning, like, we shouldn't sign these people up. What did Jared do? Out of fear, I said, okay, fine. They keep begging us, like they want us to do, fine, right? Well, what happened, Jake, after the first 6-month contract?
It gets to,
and
you dig yourself in a hole.
We then just looked at the whole situation and we were so focused for 6 months on them. And we actually forgot about the clients over here that were paying us double. And they were actually better clients for us. Because why? The loudest voice always gets the most attention typically. And so a lot of times that's why like I did that little, you know, kind of deal with you where it's like, do now, go, 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 go. Because what your brain is doing to you. And it's important, what you answer it perfectly is pause, get the data, think about it.
Right.
If you can't control your own mind and yourself and what actions you do, then the world controls you. And the only thing the Bible says about control is self-control. And so to be able to have self-control is, and it might not be, and a lot of people are like, well, that sounds great, but yeah, like I get that. Like that's very easy to understand for people, right? Like, no, I get that. But tell me that when I'm in the moment, and then it becomes a whole different thing. And that's the reason why, like, have prompts for yourself.
Yeah, it takes practice. You have to be able to, in that situation of something being hard, it's going to take a lot of mental strength to get to the point of saying, wait.
Yeah.
I need to just pause. For a while, you probably won't even think of it. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, you know, if you're trying to act different in different situations, something tough is going to come up. It's going to take a while. But then one time, you're going to be like, you know what? I need to just pause. That's a muscle. You got to practice that.
It's a muscle, dude. And you hit it perfectly because it is a muscle. And you don't develop a muscle the first workout. If anything, you break it down more. You kind of get more frustrated and like it doesn't really work and it doesn't feel great, right? And then you have consistency over and over and over. And so, and I'll give you this story. This was actually funny. So when me and Megan were early in our relationship, we would fight, and we didn't know each other's human design. And so I'm the person that wants to talk through a problem. Like if we are fighting, I just want to deal with it and solve it now.
Okay.
She needs time to process. Okay. So it was like fire. It was like water and oil, right? And so it ended up being like 5-6 hour conversations of just like going in circles. Like nothing gets done, right? Yeah. And so when we were, I call it sober-minded, right? Not like we were on, drugs or alcohol, but it was more of just like, I feel like it's as a type of drug when you're like frustrated and mad, right? When we were sober-minded and we were easy and we were talking to each other, we were like, hey, how can we not do this again? Right? What would be a good thing for us to get out of the mindset? I'm like, because what do you feel? She's like, well, I feel very angry in the moment. I'm like, what do you feel, Jared? I feel very angry in the moment. I'm like, okay, well, what if we have this prompt where when we're mad, one of us will say dance, and then we have to sit there and we have to dance. And we started laughing. They're like, we think that will work. Like, we think that would actually like really work because it would get us out of the mindset of just like dance, right?
Yeah.
Well, it sounded all great. And then the fight came around. And then all of a sudden, I think she was the one that was like, dance. And I was like, I don't want to freaking dance right now. Like, I'm not going to dance, right? And it made me realize where it's like, we know what to do, but then when you're in the moment, it's hard to do it. And so I like the muscle analogy that you gave because it is practicing something. And that's why I think you have to prompt yourself. I think the first thing to do to rewire your brain, because again, your brain is there to protect you.
Right.
And this gets into like childhood traumas and different types of things where it's like, it's there for a reason. It's there to protect from past situations that you might not need to be doing anymore. For example, let's say you're a young kid and you were neglected your whole entire life, right? You'll have a trauma about neglect when you're in your adulthood, but it's not really and as a kid, you should have had that anxiety because you were a child that couldn't take care of itself.
Right.
When you're an adult, you can actually take care of yourself, right? And so sometimes the trauma comes as an adult and it's like, hey, you don't need that trauma anymore as a kid. You can actually use it in a way where it's like, let's reformat it. Let's thank ourselves from the past to be like, hey, I'm glad that I had that trauma in the past. I'm not glad I had the trauma. I'm glad that anxiety around the trauma, right? But I don't need to act the same way anymore, right? And so that's why it's like, number one is have the courage to try the first time and to fail. Because it's not, if you have expectations where, okay, I hear what Jared's saying, I'm going to give it a try. But if it doesn't work, no, I'm not going to do it now. Right? No, it's a muscle. It's are you going to go to the gym and try to get a six pack and just literally go to the gym once and do abs, then all of a sudden go home and lift your shirt up and be like, dude, what the heck? Right? It sounds ridiculous, but that's the same thing as your brain. And your brain's actually more complicated than a muscle. It plays tricks on itself. There's past programming that you really don't know it's there. And that's why it's almost like it's an onion. You get past certain layers and you start to realize like, oh, I'm shedding all these insecurities from my past. And that's what I love, dude, about entrepreneurship is it is so hard. So hard. I mean, a lot of this podcast is going to be Jared talking about how hard entrepreneurship was. That's not to discourage people. It's actually to encourage people because that's the feather in the cap. That's the scars you can talk about the war, you know? And I think about like, a person that has a scar on their face because they slipped on their own and hit their face is a lot different than somebody that had a scar on their face from going to war and saving 3 people. That's like a badge of honor. That's like let me tell you this story, right? Versus the other one was just like, it was a stupid accident by me and I hate this scar. I want to get plastic surgery on it and get it fixed, right? But if I have a scar over something that is admirable, it's like, no, this is something that's cool. Like I have a story behind this, right? So that's kind of like the outline that I wanted to kind of go over. But yeah, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think so. We've talked about step 1, you need to take control of what's in front of you, taking control of your brain, letting yourself know that, hey, I need to lower the emotional levels right now and bring yourself to like an equilibrium. And then you need to just take a step back and understand the situation around you from a more neutral headspace. What would then your suggestion be for someone who has probably gone through those 2 steps? Okay, but I still have problems. What should I do next?
So give me what the problem would be.
I still, I have clients that are dropping off and I don't know how to fix it. I think my employees are bad. There's issues, whether it's one thing or another thing, like things are constantly going wrong.
Yeah. So obviously business, you want to be able to be successful. That's the goal, right? So that right there tells me, and again, that's a good point because if you're going through hard things over and over. So let's say, for example, your first thing in the very beginning is I'm terrified to hire an employee because what if I have to fire them, right? And then you hire an employee and then they don't do a good job and then you fire them. And then the next one, you have the courage again to hire a new employee. The same thing happens. Maybe it's easier for you to fire them this time, and then you fire them. And then by the third one, you hire them again, and then they don't do a good job. And then now it's getting easier, right? And you fire them again. And then the next one, the fourth one, you hire them, and then all of a sudden it's easy. Like you don't even have emotion and you're firing them. What's the issue there? Hiring.
Hiring. I was gonna say you shouldn't even hire the probably third or fourth one.
So again, like it's you got to make sure you're progressing in the right thing. That's why like the answer to that is get a mentor who's been there. You get there way faster. Now, again, you can do it yourself, and you can probably pattern recognize like, hey, I'm not very good at this. But some people also can't, and that's why like
Right.
I don't know many entrepreneurs that got there by themselves.
Right.
They always had help by somebody. They always had either it's friends or a circle. I was also business owners. I would just share a topic to them and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing differently.
Yeah.
But the most people that get there the fastest are mentors. I mean, and people look at mentors like, okay, mentors like how I mentor people or how I have mentors. No, mentors are all these books too. Right. And especially nowadays, you have ChatGPT, you have Claude, you have all these different things where it's like, hey, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
What is a good book or what is good things? And you can have a dialogue with it. So there's really no excuse for you to do it. Now, if you're not going to somebody, or if you're not going to somebody which is a mentor, you're not going to a book or you're not going to ChatGPT, you simply just don't care about getting better.
Right.
You're living in this illusion that you know it all, right? And that's why the top entrepreneurs are the ones that don't think they know it all. I'm giving a lot of answers here. I'm giving a lot of things, right? But if you saw how much I learn on a daily basis, it's ridiculous. We broke this down where it's like, I probably learn more in a day than a lot of people learn in a month, if not a year. And for me, it's why I've worked that muscle for so long. And so I'm always, if you look at my ChatGPT and you just look at how much, for example, I'm driving to get my hair cut after my coaching call. And for my coaching calls, I learned things from that, but then that gives me a spark of like, oh, I don't really know how to really fix this, so let's learn it. So I'm on the way to my haircut, and the whole time I'm on ChatGPT, just asking questions about certain books and what I should read and all the different things about it. And I'm getting my haircut, and my hairstylist is just like wants to talk, and I'm just like, hey, like I'm just gonna be on my headphones like saying stuff, and I don't have any like I'm literally looking crazy, right? Just talking to ChatGPT about these things that he's hearing words from business, and he's just like, whatever, Jerry's what it is, right? The average person would be like, that's weird. I don't want to do that, right? I care about growth. I care about moving fast. And so I'm always learning 24/7, no matter what happens. I can tell you how fast you're learning when I can look at your YouTube and I can see what you're actually learning, what you're watching, what you're consuming, right? A lot of people will look at sports. They'll look at, and that stuff, there's nothing wrong with it. But again, the highest level people get there because they do what other people aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
And so for me, I want to be so intelligent in business because I'm sick and tired of losing. And I got to that point where it's like, okay, I need to learn more. I need to hire people. Oh, but I don't have the money right now. It doesn't matter. I'll find it. I need this more than I need oxygen. I need to do it. While other people are okay with kind of just being in limbo and being an idle, right? And it's just like, oh, no, I can't. I had this one guy that I went to lunch with multiple times about 5-6 years ago. We've been on lunch for a long time. But he considers me a mentor of his. And he's never really scaled his business. He's kind of just stayed the same for the last 5 years. So I put out Instagram posts about like why mentors are so important. So I got a text from him, and his name pops on my phone. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And he's like, hey man, I saw your Instagram story, and I was like really inspired by it. He's like, it made me realize I got to get around more mentors, right? He was like, so I would love to take you out to lunch and just like have you mentor me. I'm like, great, what's your issues right now? What do you do? Is it profit? Is it revenue? Is it time? Is it hiring? Like, what's your issues? And he goes, all of it, man. Like, everything is a mess. I'm like, well, good news for you is I have 2 coaching spots available. So if you want to jump on one of them, we can dive into the old mentorship problem. I hear nothing for 6 hours. And that's already answered to me, right? So I respond back to him and I say, hey, I didn't know if you wanted to get free advice from a mentor or if you actually want to take this seriously, let me know. His response was, hey, I just don't know what I need to locate right now. And so my brain's all over the board. I definitely want to be mentored by you in the future. Just right now is not the right time because I don't have clarity. It's like, what does that mean? that's the time to get mentored.
Right.
Right. To see how he's like, I got to fix everything first before I'm getting mentored.
Yeah.
It's like you don't get clean before you go in the bath.
Right.
You don't get clean until you get in the shower.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why for me, it's like, it's courage. That's what it really meant. I don't have the courage to vote on myself. And also, I don't really have the courage to have somebody exposed and really look at my business and tell me what I already know deep down, that this is so broken.
Right.
I don't want them to tell me because I could hurt my ego. And so again, and I that's empathy. I felt that in the past. I was like, I don't want anybody knowing my stuff, because then they'll think of me differently than what they think of me. They think I'm really successful and all this different stuff. And all of a sudden, I had my mentors break it down. And that's the funny thing. Now I'm on the mentor side. Obviously, I still get mentored by a lot of people, so that never should stop.
Right.
If you, by the way, if you ever have a mentor that's not getting mentored still, their stuff is stagnant.
Right.
And so it's like, you want somebody who's learning more than ever, who's out there just learning, and then bringing back different things, right? But I look at like the mentorships and me being on the mentor side now, and it got me to realize that, like, bro, I don't judge any of my students because I've been there. I know what they're going through. I actually respect them so much more when they're just so honest about things.
Right.
And so you start to realize that, like, see how it's all just like fear, and it's all just make believe. It's all just, again, your brain just playing tricks on yourself.
Yeah.
Do you want to win or do you not want to win? I want to win. Okay, what does that mean? What's the easiest path to win? Let's learn. What's the easiest path to learn? You go pick up books.
Right.
You can spend a week reading one book. The dialogue back and forth between a mentor, though, to actually figure out the problems. Because a book could be 3 chapters of what's not relevant to you, and then you get to the 4th chapter and you're like, this is what I needed the whole time.
Yeah.
A mentor is able to go to that chapter right away and be like, this is what you need right now.
Or even you don't know what book you need right now, and you're like, I have all these different problems, you and this and that, and you don't know where to start. That's something I was going to ask you, is what is the importance of when someone might feel like all these things are going wrong and I just can't get it out of control? What's the importance of focusing on one thing at a time?
That's the most important thing. Yeah, because like the whole like multitasking thing is not even real. People think they can like walk and chew gum kind of thing. It's like, that's multitasking. No, that's just turning off one side of your brain, right? Like, it's funny because when you drive on a road trip, for example, and you're on the phone with a friend, you're fully present on the phone with that person. But if I told you, like, name 5 signs you passed, you'd have no idea.
Yeah.
You're just an autopilot with driving, but you're in thought with the actual response. So people would think that that's doing 2 things at once, which physically it is, but it's not focused on one. It's just autopilot, right?
Like, ready for this one? Inhale. You've been inhaling this whole, you can exhale. You've been inhaling this whole time.
Yeah.
But when it's brought to your attention, now I'm thinking about the inhale.
Didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Even like your leg starts going to sleep, you're going to move your leg, and I'm still going to be focused on things, right? And so that's why I think like people think like, oh, I can do everything like the same. It's no, focus is so important. Again, if you research these books, the best CEOs only make 5 decisions max every day. And they're the most important decisions, right? There's like there's a quadrant that I believe is Richard Branson. Don't quote me on that, but and a lot of people have done it. So I don't know if he took it from somebody else, but it was a quadrant where it was on the top left side, it was important and urgent. And on this side, it was not important but urgent. This was not important, not urgent, and this was urgent, not important. And so you look at those things, and what should a CEO know? Only urgent and important, right? The urgent and not important should be outsourced to somebody else below him. And so you look at all these different quadrants, right? And you're like, what ends up happening is, like I said about the client that has the loudest voice, that is urgent, not important.
Right.
And so the CEO will start to dip his time into that because that's the thing that's the most loud in their face, right? And again, you teach people how to treat you. And so I love that quote because you got to teach your assistant. You got to teach your managers. You got to teach your COO, your CFO, everybody underneath you. You have to treat them or teach them how to treat you, meaning you don't come to me with every single problem. You're here to fix the problems within your realm, and this is what it actually is for. And if you can't, then let's evaluate that. And either you're the wrong person or it's the wrong training, right? It's one of them. And so I think for me, it's like there's so many people that find themselves just doing unnecessary things and doing too many things at once. And again, that goes back to what we said earlier in this podcast, where it's you have to sit there and think about what's the most important thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes to sometimes you don't have the answer right away. Sometimes you got to process. Sometimes you have to write everything down and look at everything and then go pros and cons, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is making me the most money? Okay. But then again, so like, let me give an example. I have a student right now that is having a really bad time with fulfillment and operations. And so the first thing he thinks about is we just got to make more money and then we'll be able to make more money, right? Well, if you have a problem with fulfillment and operations, more revenue is more projects, and that puts more pressure on what the issue actually is, right? And so the answer might be like, money is always the answer. More is always the answer. Well, I'll handle these issues if I just make more money, right? But what's happening is now there is an aspect of reputation being harmed, a company that has too much weight on them, employees that aren't happy, clients that aren't happy. There's turnover like crazy, right? And so it's the wrong thing. And so you think about it, you're like, well, what's the most important thing they should do right now? Well, according to him, it's get more revenue, get more sales, turn on the ad machine, get more, get more, get more.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing right now is actually to lean out his company. It's to slow down so you can speed up. Oh, gosh, I don't want to slow down.
Yeah.
I absolutely don't want to slow down. Goes back to the F1 cars. They have to slow down to get a pit stop, to change their tires so they can go faster.
Right.
Otherwise, what happens is those tire treads just go crazy, and then all of a sudden they're sliding out, going to the wall, and they crashed and burn. The race is over.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's like understanding timing of business. I mean, I think about this podcast, for example, and you know how much work goes into it. Are we making any money off of it right now?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I think about like, okay, longevity wise, so many people are out there just saying that they're coaches and they're mentors and everything else, right? And we recognize, like, if I was ignorant to this, I'd be like, oh, this podcast, is only getting, let's say, 50 to 100 views, right? Gosh, it's not really worth our time, Jake. We got $35,000 worth of equipment in here.
Right.
It takes us, 2 hours to film these podcasts. You have to set up everything. We're traveling to different places to get really good guests. I'm doing a bunch of prep with our team. We have our editors on it, right? It's a lot of cost.
Yeah.
We might not see a return for probably 12 months, maybe. But I think about the future and I'm like, what are we building here? What are we trying to do? Well, I really want to be able to coach not just anybody, because if I wanted to coach anybody, I would just run ads, right? Let's get as many people in as possible and let's just try to sign up as many people. No, I want to coach quality people that get to know who I am as a person, that get to listen to my long form stuff. The people that are like, hey, I think I want to coach with this guy, but I want to know more about him. But I don't really want to jump on a call for him to potentially just like sell me on something. Well, there we go. Here's a podcast, right? It's also for me, it's like giving free value is so important because it always comes around. I told you the story, how we got one of our bigger clients, the client in LA. It was because I helped somebody early in their career. And his problem at the time, he was in our space and he was just undercharging. And I just said, hey, like, you got to charge more, like charge 5,000, don't charge 2,000. He's like, what? I'm like, literally do everything you're doing. Just charge 5,000. That's it. And he's just like, that sounds, I was like, try it. Well, he tries it, right? And he ends up getting a client up in LA. And then, he calls me and he's all stoked and he's like, Jared, I did it. I got a client, right? Fast. And I was like, awesome, man. Did Jared get anything besides I gave up my time for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him free advice. I got nothing. And if you actually look at it from a standpoint, I actually lost some things. I lost my time. I lost all that, right? And I wasn't looking at it that way, but like that's really what happened. Fast forward 3 years later, I get a call from him and he gives us a referral of a client because he moved down to San Diego and they're up in LA. And he was like, hey, like, I can't do them anymore. Yeah. And I referred them. We signed the contract up in a heartbeat and we made so much money off of this client. And so again, was I'm going to do this and this is going to happen. No, you give out free value to people. And if the people know that it's authentic and real, and they also jive with what you're talking about, that's why long form is so great. Short form is hard because it's bits, right? Long form is so great. So do you see how if the most important thing to me was making money,
Mm-hmm.
I'll turn these cameras off and I would start just
Yep.
doing sales.
Yeah.
Right. But for me, it's the quality of the people and the impact and the joy that I have, because there's not many people. If I jump on a call with somebody who wants to get mentored with me during these podcasts, they've
Mm-hmm.
already listened to all of it. And
Right.
guess what? We have the Master Financial Sheet episode that went out yesterday. We have, the breakdown of the three phases of business. So they
Mm-hmm.
already know my style. They already know what's coming.
Right.
And they're already accepting I'm willing to do that. Versus if somebody just gets an ad based off of you talking about their bottleneck,
Yeah.
right? Then they're going to not know what it is. They're going to think, oh, you're my savior. I'm just going to come in, you're going to click a button in me, and all of a sudden I'm going to be a multimillionaire, right? Expectations and reality are very far from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think about the long term of it, and then I ask myself, am I willing to risk that we do this for a year and we still get nothing from it?
Mm.
Because it's free value.
Yeah.
If I'm able to affect one person at the end of the day, it's worth it. I would spend so much money just to do that
Right.
alone, because it's value. Again, how did I become the person? Because I was watching a bunch of free value from people on YouTube and people just giving for free, free, free. Now, what do I want to do? I want to give back to them. I want to buy their courses. I want to buy their coaching. I want to
Right.
give them as much as possible. Why? Because they poured into me. And so again, the people that are trying to cut the corners, like, there's going to be people on here that watch all the free stuff and then never,
Yeah.
pay a dime to us, right? Great. That's fine. But those people never will win.
Right. You have to be willing to give up something in order to gain. And I think this is a perfect tie back to kind of the topic of the episode of how do you deal with things when they're hard and the ups and downs of business. Like when you look at all these problems, you're going to have to give something up. You're going to have to put your focus somewhere and sacrifice something to put your effort into what you think is going to work. And if you have a mentor, you'll probably be able to get to that decision faster. But it's going to take you putting something else on the back burner so that you can focus elsewhere.
Yep.
You have all these problems coming at you, but what is the most important? Which is the one that needs to be fixed first? And then you have to put your energy on that.
So well said. Well said. Is there anything to wrap up on this whole thing?
I don't think so.
I think we're good. So if you guys enjoyed this, leave comments below. If there's ever a topic that you guys want us to talk about, let us know. We want to hear from you guys. We're excited to keep these things going. I don't know when this will get released, but we got some awesome guests coming on, which
Yeah,
I'm fired
good
up
lineup.
for. And we got a lot of prep. That's the cool thing about our podcast is, again, we research the top podcasts and how they do prep. And so we got some great conversations coming. We got Rick Gutman, my mentor, who is, and again, I'll say this right now. There is not anybody else I can think about, celebrity, famous person, anybody that I would choose to get on a podcast over Rick Gutman. And I thought about that. I was talking to you offline on this. There's so many of those people out there that are really doing it for real. I mean, Rick is an 8-figure earner for the past 5 years in a row, a 7-figure earner for I don't know how many years, but 8-figure earner from the business that he's running. And that's just one little, he has passive income and just the guy is a juggernaut. No one would know him.
Right.
And there's so many of those people because he's not out there. He's not on YouTube. He's not doing all these things. I mean, you could find him. You can find some episodes and stuff. But the guy is probably the most impressive guy that I've ever met. Not just from a standpoint of business and mindset, but from a standpoint of spiritually, God. He is the man's man. We're going to have to get a wide angle lens for him because my boy is so big. And we're going to have to narrow me a little bit and not put me next to him, please, because I'll look like a little boy. But that's going to be a great one. And then we have Ironman 70.3 champion, my coach, Chad, coming on, which that's going to be a phenomenal story. And then we also got Austin Snyder, who's one of my best friends, one of the very few coaches in the agency space that actually does the right way. That's the cool thing between me and him. It's he does more of the mass courses and helps more people in a bulk. Obviously, Agency U is one of the biggest, agency courses out there and mentorships. And so excited to get that stuff on. I don't know when these things will launch, but we got some great guests going on and we're excited for you guys to take a listen. Let us know how you are. As always, subscribe, comment, hit the notification buttons, do everything just to keep this thing getting more eyes on it. Obviously, the more you guys help with us, the more that this thing goes out to more people.
Yeah.
And again, we're doing this for free value. We love you guys and we'll see you next episode.